Now that I'm officially in my 30s, I can reflect on everything that I learned in my 20s. It has been a roller coaster of emotions. There have been so many things I wish I would have known when I was 20, and I want to share that today. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing some lessons that hopefully can help you if you're in your 20s or if you just want some lessons to help you get through life. So the first lesson that I learned in my 20s was you can truly determine how you respond to life's obstacles. So when things would arise when I was in my early 20s, maybe mid 20s, I used to think that I had no control over my situation. Everything just felt daunting and it was hard, and I just didn't understand why things were happening because, let's be honest, when you're in your teens, you don't really experience a lot of craziness. Like, yes, things might happen to you and some people have harder times than others, but for the most part, when you're in your teens, you're not really on your own. You're still doing things, you're still navigating life with your parents. But once you enter into your 20s, typically that's when you start to live your life on your own. And so that's when you get faced with many challenges, a lot of hardship, things that come out of your way that you don't expect. And I had a lot of this happen in my own personal life. I had huge injuries. So for those of you who don't know, I am an athlete, and I had injuries that set me back and didn't allow me to do my job. I had ended relationships, whether that was romantic or friendships. I had so much happening. Something that I learned was that you just take a step back and just relax and truly look at the situation for what it is and just know that things are going to be okay regardless. That's something that I wish I would have known. The next thing I learned in my 20s was finding community and having friendships was going to take intentionality. So when you're younger and you're going to school and you're doing all those things, you're naturally having those friendships that just continuously stay. When you're in your mid to late 20s, that is when those friendships take a little bit more work. You're really gonna have to take the effort in texting those people, calling those people, if you want that community. Community is huge in your 20s, and if you don't put work towards it, you're really not gonna have anything. Once I got into my mid 20s, I'm like, why does it feel so hard to make new friends? And naturally, you have to really just go out of your way to do those things. Remember, intentionality for those friendships help you sustain that community that you're gonna need into your 30s. Another thing that I learned in my 20s and that I wish I had known even earlier was that investing my money early on makes such a huge difference. Now that I'm 30, I can say that my husband and I have saved up so much money that has really set us up for a good future. And honestly, this was because I started doing this young. So when I was starting off my professional career, I would always take money out of what I was making or what I would receive and put that in a savings, put that in stocks and all that stuff. And now as I'm in my 30s, I see it growing. I see that I have saved so much. And so if you're in your 20s, don't neglect your savings. Truly save, even if it's a little bit. If you're not making a lot of money right now, that's okay. But even if it's, $5 or whatever that is, save some money and put that in for your future self. I promise you, your future self will thank you and will be so grateful that you did that. Because like I said, now that I'm in my 30s, I can see all that hard work of, not spending when I always wanted to, or not indulging in the way I may have when I was younger. That is something that I don't regret. It's like I now can see all the fruits of my labor in my 30s. And I know that's going to continue to push past in my 40s if I continue doing this. And also, there's something to be said about how your money accumulates if you start younger. If you're into the investing world, your money will continue to increase even faster if you start younger. Another lesson that I learned in my 20s was that certain foods will affect you more than they did in the past. As I got older, I always thought I was Superwoman, and I'm not even that old right now. I'm literally still in my 30s, but I never thought that anything would affect me. I was like, I'll be fine. I can continuously eat the way I would. I cannot do that anymore the way I used to. And sometimes it's a little frustrating because I'm just like, man, if I just ate the way I did when I was younger, I would gain so much weight so quickly. And it's just easy to put on weight, okay? It's easy to put on weight. And even just your joints as you get older, they're not gonna be as elastic and strong as you were when you were probably 12. As you age, your body will start to adapt differently. Things that may have not bothered you in your early 20s might bother you in your late 20s. So just be prepared for that and be okay and accept it. Like, it's okay to age. A lot of goodness comes from aging. And that's something I wanna remind you guys of, is like, don't be scared of the aging process. As my 30s came up, I was a little bit scared. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I'm about to enter my 30s. Like, what have I really done in my life? Like, all these different questions started to come up. What's happening? I'm going to be in my 70s before I know it. And don't be afraid of just the fact that you're going to age. Like, it's okay to be older. So just remember that. And that's something I have to tell myself. Another thing that I learned in my 20s was you are not going to have it all figured out. As much as you want to know, this is my future, this is what I want to do, this is everything that's going to happen for me and my plans, you won't have it figured out. You're gonna be confused. There are gonna be times that you think you're going on the right path and then you're just redirected quickly by God. You're gonna have times where you try something and it completely fails, and that is okay. Everything you're going through right now is setting yourself up for your future self, and that is what you need to set up your future. If I could tell my younger self to not stress out and not to get overwhelmed with everything, I would freak out if something failed. And then I look back now and I'm like, yo, that failure set me up for where I am right now. Or there's so many things that I did that I didn't even realize what it was doing for who I am now as a woman. Remember that, like, you're not gonna have it all figured out. We're literally still so young in our 20s, and there's so many life lessons to have and so many different paths your life can take. And so don't get discouraged if you don't know where you're supposed to be going. It's okay. As long as you're making a conscious effort and you're really trying to do your best, that is all that matters. So remember that, you're not gonna have it all figured out. And even if you think you do, be open to change, because that is what happens as you continue to age. You're never going to be the same person. You're going to continue to grow and things are going to continue to develop, which is perfectly fine. Number 6 is developing a strong faith life will be huge. I've always been a Christian my whole life. I grew up in the faith, but really developing my faith life early in my 20s was a game changer. I mean, it really helped me with my identity. It helped me know who I was in God. It really helped me kind of form a path of just trusting Him and not relying on myself. And that really gave me so much peace. So I truly, truly recommend getting stronger to God, really developing your relationship early on. Don't get distracted by the world, all the temptations, all the trends, everything that's going on, like truly focusing on Him. I wish I knew what I know now. Like, now that I'm growing, I feel like I'm developing my relationship with God stronger. But if I had known that like early in my 20s, I think I would have started at even younger. So yeah, just be true to who you are, true to who God created you to be, and don't fall into the world's temptations. The next lesson that I learned was that finding mentors who have done what I want to do is huge. So people who have, gone before me and done some of the goals I wanted have so much more wisdom than I do, whether they're in their 60s. Go and talk to them, go get insight, ask them how they did that, sit down and, buy them a coffee, something. I don't have as many as I would like now in my 30s. I would love to continuously find different mentors. Having somebody kind of lead me into my professional career, whether that was even my sister who did it before me or older athletes that had more insight and more experience than me, just going in, asking those questions, being inquisitive will make a huge difference for your future. And don't be scared to just ask. Like, it's okay. People don't really mind when you ask questions of anything. People love to talk about themselves and their own experiences. So don't be afraid to just be like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing here. Please help me. And I'm sure that you'll get the help you need. All right, number 8, always invest in your learning. Never stop learning. Even if you're done with school, learn. I like to listen to podcasts. I like to listen to audiobooks. I like to read. I like to do so many different things that opens up my brain. You are never too old to learn something. And that's something I want to encourage the younger generation, because we can get so sucked up into our phones and social media, everybody else is doing, and it just gets so distracting when you can be using that towards your learning. And there's so many things that we can be growing in as individuals, whether that's a new skill, a new task, just so many different things. Like, there's things that I still don't know to this day that I'm going to continue to research up on. So always invest in your learning. Find different ways to do that. Truly finding that will be a game changer. Learn how to cook. Going out to eat every single day is not only bad for you financially, but also physically. So I learned early on that going out gets old. I like to go out to eat occasionally. Don't get me wrong. Your girl loves a good time out and date night. However, I truly have found that when I am consistently cooking my own food, I feel healthier. I feel more fit. I feel more energized. So if you can learn how to cook, it is not that hard to cook, you guys. There are so many healthy recipes out there that take 20 minutes max, maybe 40 minutes, and you can literally have different recipes and different go-tos that you cook. Go look it up on Google, go find you a cookbook, just start to invest in your cooking. I promise you, you will not regret it. I love to cook now. I'm not the kind of person that likes cooking that takes like 3 hours. I don't like that long process cooking, but if you're somebody who likes to on the go cook, that's something I truly recommend. You can find that easily and it is just as good. Honestly, sometimes I find my food better than a lot of restaurants. And so yeah, just encouraging you guys, invest in your cooking. And then even when you do go out, you'll enjoy it more and it'll just mean more. You'll be like, ooh, this is like a nice little treat, not like doing it all the time. And then also save them coins. Once you go out to eat, it is so expensive all the time. Another thing, as you age, in your 20s, something that I had to learn as I got older in my late 20s was that working out might feel a little bit harder. That's okay. Just make sure you're focusing on your warm up. So if you like to work out, Don't go out there and do things that you used to do when you were, 19 or 15. Like, be a little bit more cautious of how you're pushing your body, because you put yourself in a position to have more injuries and more long-term things if you're not smart about it. So the older I got, the more I said, okay, what do I need to do to keep my body healthy? Warming up, stretching more, drinking more water. Yeah, as you age, just be aware of that, kind of like the food thing. The food's gonna shift, but also the working out might shift. And that's okay. Next thing that I learned in my 20s is that comparing does nothing for your life. I really have struggled over the past 10 years with comparing my life to other people and just being online and seeing things that made me feel bad about myself. And I just want to tell you guys, like, every single time I did that, it led me nowhere. And so I have to keep reminding myself of, like, this is literally not progressing my life. You can truly progress yourself if you're focused on your goals, focused on what God wants you to do, focusing on who you are. And that's truly more important than saying, what does that person got that I don't have? How can I be more like her? I don't think it's bad to look at somebody else's life and use it as motivation. However, there are boundaries in that, and you need to be a little careful, because there's a very fine line as to when that becomes comparison, jealousy, envy, all that stuff. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what's going on in their lives. When you are focused on your blessings, you can accomplish so much more. Number 12 is happiness is a choice, not a feeling. Remember that. That's a simple one. Staying up late will indeed hurt your productivity. If you're trying to be more productive, staying up late consistently is not going to help you out. Having a smart nighttime routine where you go to bed early, don't stay up till 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning just talking on the phone and going out to parties. I always found myself regret going out and doing those things, but with the times that I did go to bed and I woke up earlier, I always felt myself feel so much better. Staying up late really isn't worth it. You're not missing out. Just go to sleep. Like, I'm not saying you have to go to bed at like 8 p.m., but if you're intentional with being consistent with your nighttime routine, you are truly setting yourself up for the next day in a positive way where you can be more productive and get more done and just accomplish more of your goals. Stop putting your hope in other people. They will always fail you. So human beings are human beings, okay? Don't put all of your hope and energy into people. What I mean by that is, you don't want to depend on people as if they're God. Like, you want to make sure that you're remembering that human beings are going to fail us. Don't try to please people all the time, because truly their opinions will be fickle. Like, if you're trying to live to please the world, you're really, really setting yourself up for failure, because they're going to not always agree with what you're doing. So when you just focus on how can you please the Lord? How can you do what you're called to do? That's what you should really be focused on. If you guys are finding this video useful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more videos just like this. The next lesson is that family is so important. Do not forget that. I know it's easy when you go off to college or you go off to the military, whatever it is in your 20s, and you're like, I'm doing my own thing, my family is doing their own thing, it is what it is. However, I will say, if you have family that is, you're in a healthy relationship with them, because I'm not saying everybody is in a good relationship with their family, but if you are, stay in contact, really communicate with your parents, your siblings, whatever that is, if you can, just because it makes such a difference. Like, no matter where you go, family is always gonna be family, and it's just really nice to have that support no matter where in the world you are. And long term, you're gonna really love that you kept that relationship with your family. And we don't always know how long we have our loved ones, and so it's just a good reminder to always just really love people when you can. That's just something I'm doing more now as I am in my 30s, is just being intentional with the relationships of people in my family. You can have friends that are like family, like people who are super close, cousins, people that truly are near and dear to your heart. Don't neglect them and don't forget about them. Next thing is, you are going to have a lot of trial and error, and that's okay. There are going to be times where you're like, I am killing it at life, and then something comes and slaps you in the face. There's gonna be plenty of times where things just don't go as planned, and that is truly, truly okay. And like I said earlier about, you're not gonna have it all figured out, like, sometimes the failures and the roadblocks and the things we deal with are truly helping us to really bring to fruition the main goal of where we need to be. And so don't look at that and be like, man, why did I even try that thing out? You don't know what that thing that you tried out 4 years ago is doing for you in your 30s. Maybe that thing didn't work out that you wanted, but the skills that you learned there are going to be transferred so smoothly into the next role you have. And so there's just so many things I wish I had known when I was younger, like, dang, I don't understand why I had to deal with that or why I had to go through that. And looking back now, I'm like, man, had I not gone through that, I don't think I would be where I am. Don't be afraid to take risks. don't be scared to do the things that you feel called to do, because in the long run, it will be worth it. And this goes kind of nicely into my next point, which is what you do today can truly affect your tomorrow. So just be intentional with each and every day. I have found that, really taking inventory of my life and saying, how have I been spending these last few weeks? What have I been doing these last few months that's setting me up for the person I want to be? Every little thing you do makes a big impact on your tomorrow. And don't forget that. Even if you're doing things that are negative and you think they don't have an effect right now, they do. I promise you, at some point they'll come to light and you'll be mad that you focused your time on and energy on that thing. My next point is get off your phone. I can't actually say that I'm very good at this still in my 30s, but I have learned so many times when I just put my phone down, how much more I learned about the world, how much more at peace I felt. Like when I'm not constantly scrolling, constantly, doing things on my phone, I truly feel a lot more peace. So a reminder, if you're in your 20s and you have a smartphone, which is 99.9% of the population at this point, put it down for a little bit, view more of what's going on around you, have intentional and have productive conversations with people in front of you. Just be present, really give people attention that are talking to you. I have seen so many people who are like 10 years younger than me now, like they can't even make eye contact. And it's really, really sad because of how much our phones are affecting us. So that's something I would tell my younger self is put it down. It's not going anywhere. You can look at it later. Yeah, and like the more you actually are talking to people, the more you'll get comfortable with it. I know sometimes we can use our phones as a little bit of a crutch and we can make it seem like, okay, well, if I have my phone, I don't have to talk to people. And no, be uncomfortable, because that's going to help you out later on when you're, getting ready for a job interview, that you can have a productive conversation with people. It will be easier. So if you're doing that now, then you're going to be able to do that so much more smoothly in the future. Another thing that I kind of really wish I knew in my 20s was that not everybody is going to like you, and that is perfectly fine. There have been so many instances where I would get into a new work environment, something with a new group of people, and I couldn't tell you why. I just felt and I believed that some people just didn't like me. It was very clear for some reason they had something against me, didn't like to talk to me. People would tell me they don't really like me, and I had no idea why. And I used to be like, well, if I was just a little bit nicer, or if I talked to them, or I did this, you're not gonna please everybody. No matter what you do, especially if you stand for something and you're really confident in yourself, some people will not like that, and that is okay, because maybe sometimes they're projecting their own insecurities on you and you don't even realize it. You can only do so much. It's just gonna tire you out at some point. Stand firm in who you are. The more confident you are in yourself, the more you'll attract the people who actually are meant for you. The last point that I wanna highlight today is that your 20s are going to fly by. I remember turning 20, and now that I just turned 30 a few months ago, I'm like, wait, what? How the heck did that just go by so fast? Like, it was like a blink of an eye. That 10 years really did go by fast. And so if you're 21, if you're 29, enjoy your 20s. Like, I honestly think this is a really beautiful time. People like to say, enjoy your life when you're young, like all that stuff. But I truly think your 20s is just really fun, because you're figuring things out. You're on your own for the first time. You're becoming a new version of you, and you're trying to see who you really are. And there's just so much to love in that. And so don't look at it and say, oh, I just can't wait until this next stage. Like, enjoy it, because it flies by. You're gonna look up one day and be like, I'm in my 30s now, and then maybe I'm in my 40s. Who knows? These next 10 years in my 30s might fly by. But yeah, that's just my advice: is stay the course, enjoy the course, be present in the course, because before you know it, you'll no longer have it. I hope these points were helpful for you guys and just encouraging and just hopefully insightful as to how to navigate your 20s. I know it's not easy. There are going to be times that it's a complete struggle. There are going to be times that it's amazing. There's going to be a lot of fruit in this season. And so just remember that, and know you're not alone. There's a lot of people going through a lot of stuff. I have myself dealt with a lot of crap in my 20s, but a lot of beauty. I got married to my husband, and I've been to 3 Olympic Games in my 20s. I've done a lot of good things, and honestly, I really have loved that season. There was a lot of hard, but I wouldn't trade it at this point, because I know what it's done for me now. And so, yeah, I just hope this encourages you. If it did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more in the future. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.